Hello everyone, and I'm Autobot Sonic the Telltale Gamer, bringing latest learning Telltale games, Transformers, and more. So first off, I want to say Happy New Year to everyone and all you subscribers still watching. It's really cool now that it's 2022. There's going to be a lot of stuff happening this year that I'm really excited to looking forward to. First off, of course, well, this is the last episode of Transformers Cyberverse Season 2 that I'll be reviewing, and then tomorrow I'll be making my review of Transformers Cyberverse Season 3, which I'm really excited to jump into. At the same time, though, we've got a lot of other stuff coming. We've got, next month, and well, even less than a month, the Life is Strange Remastered Collection comes out with HD remakes of Life is Strange 1 and Before the Storm, which I'm going to be playing through on this channel. In April, we got the 10-year anniversary of The Walking Dead, the Telltale series, Season 1. So I'm definitely going to be playing through the definitive edition of Season 1 on this channel to celebrate the 10th anniversary of The Walking Dead. And we got so much stuff here, I'm really excited for that. But before we get on to any of that, we gotta go ahead and cover the finale of Transformers Cyberverse Season 2, Power to Spark, with Episode 18, The Crossroads. Now, what do I think about the final episode of what arguably has been a mostly great season so far and an improvement over Season 1? Unfortunately, I have to say, this is without a doubt the worst episode of Cyberverse that has ever been made so far, and it hurts me so much saying that. I'm not saying this out of spite, like, oh, I hate Cyberverse, it's such a terrible show. No, I want this episode to be so good, but honestly, it is without a doubt the worst episode of Cyberverse. Not just this season, but the entire show so far, and it really sucks because I had such high expectations for this, considering how well the rest of this season has gone. But it also just kind of makes me believe that there's some problem that people have had, I guess the Cyberverse writing team had with creating big finales this season. First off, back in episode 12 with I Am the Allspark, that was supposed to wrap up the whole Starscream arc that we started with episode 1, and it just fell flat on its face. Now with this episode, which ends the Road to Cybertron arc, again, falls flat right on its face. And I don't know, it was just really disappointing. And before I go any further, I want to point out something that I just did some more research into, and that was back to my review of Transformers Cyberverse episode 12, I Am the Allspark. I said it wasn't clear whether or not Thundercracker, Novastorm, and all the other Seekers that Starscream had begun taking their sparks out, they died or not. I looked it up, and apparently, yes, it's confirmed that Starscream did in fact kill Thundercracker, Novastorm, Acid Storm, and all the other Seekers at the start of that episode. So we're not going to be seeing Thundercracker, Novastorm, Slipstream, any of those Seekers again in Season 3 or 4. So, and I don't hate that they're dead, I just wish they made it more clear, in my opinion. But anyway, enough about that. We're going to go talk about the final episode and why I believe it is, without a doubt, the worst episode of Cyberverse we have received so far. So, the whole premise of this episode is that essentially, while traveling to Cybertron, the Ark comes across an inactive space bridge in deep space. This isn't the same space bridge that they believed the Decepticons destroyed back at the end of Escape from Earth. This is a totally different space bridge, far off in space away from Earth. So, Wheeljack manages to get up and running, and the Autobots travel through it, only to find out that they're in this sort of in-between space where that you usually travel through when you travel through space bridges, called Unspace. So, the Autobots decide to go ahead and look around the area when they find another Ark just floating aimlessly throughout Unspace, but it's really dilapidated. They get through it, and then, however, all of a sudden, it just rapidly starts disintegrating and just eventually just disappears altogether. So it's at this point where Wheeljack comes to the conclusion that because of the way Unspace is, anything that doesn't originate from Unspace will eventually disintegrate after staying in there for too long. So while they try to figure out a way to get out, they suddenly pick up another distress call from another Autobot ship, which is yet again another copy of the Ark. This time, though, this Ark is actually fully populated with other Autobots and is an exact replica of all the Autobots on our main crew. We have another Optimus, another Teletran X, another Windblade, another Hot Rod, another Bumblebee, another Wheeljack, and so on. So we get this scene where all the Autobots are basically talking to themselves, and here's my first problem with this. I'm not against having the alternate Ark be essentially carbon copies of our main cast of Autobots. I have no problem with each of the Grimlocks being the exact same, each of the Bumblebees or Hot Rods being the same. And it's actually cool seeing like how the same character basically talks to themselves. Like we have one with both the Hot Rods complimenting how they look, one with Grimlock making fun of how he looks in Dinobot mode, and then obviously Dinobot Grimlock is upset by that. We have one of the two Windblades talking to each other, basically explaining like how they got into a situation with our Windblade, stating that they received a distress call from Chromia from Cybertron, while the alternate Windblade said that her distress call came from Perceptor instead, who, again, we haven't seen since the very first episode of Cyberverse, when it was he who sent Windblade through the space bridge to Earth to find Bumblebee. But anyway, as they're talking about this, a third Autobot arc comes in, but this time, instead of it being run by Optimus, this arc is run by Rack and Ruin, and that's honestly something I wish they did more of, in that it's cool, like, to have just one arc may essentially be the exact same, but can you, like, why can't all the arcs just be like this one and have, like, you have crazy stuff like Rack and Ruin is in charge of the arc? But anyway, as they're doing this, all three Wheeljacks from each of the arcs decide to go ahead and use a device that the main Wheeljack found on the destroyed arc, which apparently was going to be used to siphon the power of the Allspark to create a space bridge out of Unspace. So considering that each arc also has its own Allspark, the three Wheeljacks take all three Allsparks and use them to try and create a big space bridge for all three arcs to return from. However, it's not enough power, and by the time that they get there, the second arc that they came across just immediately disintegrates, and all the Autobots in there die as well. Which, again, why is this the case? Because they were as far as we know, they were in Unspace shorter than our main Autobot crew. So shouldn't our main Autobot crew died first instead of the secondary crew? I don't know, but again, just feels like a really weird inconsistency in my opinion. But just as the main arc and then Rack and Ruin's arc is trying to figure out what they're going to do now, suddenly dozens of more arcs all come in. And so we have all, like, literally, like, about almost a dozen different Autobot crews, all with their own Allsparks come in, that just happen to have come in at the same time. And the thing is, they're all the exact same main arc. They all have Optimus as the leader, they all have Wheeljack as the scientist, all their Bumblebees, Grimlocks, Hot Rods, they all act the same way as our main Bumblebee, Grimlock, and Hot Rod. So why you couldn't just I thought it would have been so cool if maybe you have somewhere maybe Bumblebee's the leader, somewhere Hot Rod's the leader. Why couldn't you just have some variety in it? Because I get that they're trying to set up this multiverse idea, because again, from out of context clips and some reviews of Cyberverse that I had read before, I do know that the multiverse will come back at some point in seasons 3 and 4, that they play a big role in those seasons. Also, that originally the writers of Cyberverse were going to use this as sort of a cop-out way of doing crossovers with Transformers Prime, Transformers Animated, and Beast Wars eventually at some point down the line, but of course those plans never came to fruition. So the multiverse is just kind of its own thing in this. But the fact that the Cyberverse writers don't really do anything with it, we just have all these alternate Autobots and arcs that are the exact same as our main cast. So what's the point of a multiverse then? The point of a multiverse is that you're supposed to have different versions of the same characters, see how they react to each other. I mean, you can have alternate versions of those characters where they're pretty much the same, but not have every single version of Bumblebee be the exact same Bumblebee. That's if you get what I'm saying. And that just bothers me a lot. But anyway, now they've got a dozen more arcs. All the arcs use all their Allsparks to create a much more powerful space bridge, and this one is enough to get all the Autobots back home. So our main Autobot crew leaves Unspace before they're disintegrated, and they arrive at Cybertron. But what they don't know is that Megatron had captured Chromia and forced her into sending the distress signal to trick the Autobots into coming, so that they'll kill them all. But the Autobots are unaware of this as they head back down to Cybertron, and that's where we end with Season 2, that the Autobots heading down to Cybertron. They have no idea that Megatron has Chromia captured and all the Decepticons are waiting for them. We don't know where Croaton and Starscream are after they left back in, I believe it was Ghost Town a few episodes ago. Again, it just feels super underwhelming and very disappointing in my opinion. And so that was my review of Transformers Cyberverse Season 2, Episode 18, The Crossroads. If I had to rate this episode, unfortunately, I'd have to give it either a 4.5 or a 5 out of 10. It was cool to see different versions of of the Autobots, especially the Rack and Ruin arc, where Rack and Ruin is the leader of the Autobots instead of Optimus. And it was nice to have like some funny moments where all the Optimuses are talking over each other, the Hot Rods talking to each other, Grimlock making fun of how he looks in Dinobot mode, and it just, those points were funny. But the fact of the matter is, there is no conflict in this episode. It just gets solved by, oh, more Autobots just happen to come in. It's super inconsistent with the whole unspaced disintegration thing. No conflict. All the arcs, save for the Rack and Ruin arc, are the exact same as the other arc. And then just nothing really felt like this episode mattered. You could have literally just ended with the last episode, with episode 17, and nothing would have changed. Just, it was super, super disappointing in my opinion. And now that we're finished with Transformers Cyberverse Season 2 Power to Spark, it's time for me to give my overall rating for the entire season as a whole. Now, I believe with Season 1, I gave it like an 8 out of 10. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to give Season 2 the same thing, because while this season I enjoyed a lot more than Season 1, had a lot better episodes. Like, we had the initial episodes with Sea of Tranquility being an amazing opening, Bad Moon Rising, where we got to see Megatron beat Starscream so viciously that we've never seen before to near death. And yes, again, I looked it up, that was officially confirmed that Megatron did beat Starscream to near death. He didn't kill him, just beat him to near death. We had Starscream's arc into villainy that we've seen go throughout such cool things throughout the first 12 episodes of the season. We got incredible new characters like Cheetor, Jetfire, Skybite, Croatan, and a lot of cool new character relationships. We saw like Bumblebee basically becoming like an older brother to Cheetor, and then like sort of like having like a little cool brothers dynamic between the two of them and Hot Rod. We have some nice interactions between RC and Grimlock later on the season, and it was just cool to see a more fleshed out cast of characters and see more sides to characters that really didn't get the spotlight in Season 1, like Grimlock, Optimus, Hot Rod, Shadow Striker, Shockwave, Soundwave, and so on. And then even Slipstream's death, which came out of nowhere, was actually really surprising. Bludgeon proves to be an interesting character who I think we'll hopefully see more of in Season 3. But other than that, though, I just can't get over the fact that how poorly Cyberverse Season 2 botched its finales, with both the Starscream finale with Eye on the Allspark and the Road to Cybertron finale here with the Crossroads. Both of these finales were so bad in my opinion, and it really sucks because I love this season otherwise. But because, again, you gotta have a good ending, otherwise it just won't matter. Like, you see Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones had arguably one of the worst endings in television history, and so to have like that, and no one talks about that show anymore. So I'm glad Cyberverse didn't totally botch it, but it just, in my opinion, it does hurt this season overall, in my opinion. So that's going to be it for this review and the entirety of Season 2 as well. I will be back soon with the Season 3 premiere episode, The Battle for Cybertron, but not just Episode 1, as for premiere for Season 3 was actually a 4-episode event that were all released at once, so I'll be covering Episodes 1 through 4 of Season 3 in one video. That's Battle for Cybertron's Part 1, 2, 3, and 4, so it's going to be my longest review for Cyberverse so far, and I hope you guys are excited for it, because I sure am. Just hopefully that Season 3 will be better than this finale. If you're excited as I am for Season 3, be sure to like, comment, and of course subscribe, and I will see you guys later. Take it away, Bumblebee.
Bumblebee out.
And I might know what our future